but my name is Thanda Meehan, and I am the clinical trial coordinator at Washington University in St. Louis, working on our short posterior fossa decompression with or without duraplasty. We also call it PFD versus PFDD study. I need to thank the 42 research centers that participate in the data collection for both the Parc Reeves Consortium as well as our PFD trial. In the consortium, we have a database of over 1,600 Chiari patients that have both Chiari and Syringomyelia. This consortium tracks Chiari with Syrinx patients over 5 years. The database is accessible to all researchers, so feel free to reach out to us if you'd like some of that data. We also are continuing to onboard more institutions and collaborate with others. So in addition to the majority of these sites, Atlanta, Children's National in DC, and Cornell are part of our PFD trial. So this is my team, Dr. David Limbrick, who sends his regards. He can't be here today. He is the lead investigator for the study, and since he's not here, I'm going to pull up my favorite picture of him. Tammy Bethel Anderson is our data monitor, and if some of you have probably had some experience with her, she has a long history with both the Parc Reeves Consortium as well as our PFD trial. And I swear that's what she looks like. Finally, our neuroradiology team, who are just fantastic. They've reviewed thousands of scans for us and have graciously agreed to help with hundreds of images that we will be packaging for our adjudication process. So with this study, we're hoping to determine if PFD will be associated with fewer surgical complications and less harm to patients. We would like to know how clinical improvement, Syrinx regression, the rate of surgical revision, and quality of life differs between the two surgical techniques. So which one is better? That's kind of been, we've heard a lot of opinions today on that. Currently, there's really no high-quality evidence-based data for the pediatric population with regards to PFD versus PFDD. What everyone does agree on, and I think I've heard that consensus here, is that symptomatic Chiari 1 with a Syrinx would require surgery. When I talk to the sites, it's really not difficult to guess the surgeon's surgical preferences. However, there is no consensus, and the literature can be a bit ambiguous. So in addition to providing evidence-based practice to our physician community, we very much want to improve the lives of our patients. With limited data available, our patients are left with resources such as Wikipedia or blogs. These are not the most scientifically reliable sources. We would have been remiss had we designed this study without listening to the population that we had intended to help. So we joined with patient partners and advocacy groups, and overwhelming, they wanted a quality of life tool that assessed standards from their perspective, and we agreed that this was important. So the PFD study is a cluster randomized controlled trial of 148 patients at 42 research centers across the United States under a central IRB. The randomization occurs at the center and not at the patient level. And listed on the screen are the 3 aims of the trial that I'm going to elaborate on in just a bit. So these are the parameters that were discussed and voted on by an advisory group consisting of neurosurgeons and patient partners prior to the beginning of the study. We're utilizing Redcap to keep track of the reasons why individuals with Chiari might not qualify or participate, and this may offer some valuable information to us in the future. Surgical outcomes are measured in aim 1 of the study. We are acquiring data on any intraoperative complications as well as collecting information postoperatively, both in the short and the long term leading out to 1 year. Where surgical outcomes are aim 1, clinical outcome is aim 2. We're looking at the effect of surgery on the syrinx and spinal deformity. MRIs are being obtained preoperatively and at 12 months postoperatively. We are documenting the need for revisions and any other surgeries related to Chiari along the way. For aim 3, we are holistically evaluating the patients across a psychosocial and physical dimension using 2 quality of life tools. The first is the Chiari Health Index of Pediatrics, which we call the CHIP, and the second, the Health Utilities Index 3. The CHIP was developed in 2016 by our collaborators at Vanderbilt University. It is a 45-question instrument that assesses levels of pain and other physical improvements, but it also looks at psychosocial elements such as, how is their ability to make friends? Are they feeling frustrated? Is there anxiety? How is their interaction with their peers? And again, these elements are collected or documented by the patient from their perspective. So once a participant is enrolled in the trial, these are the time points of data collection. They follow an ordinary clinical workflow. The CHIP and the HUE-3 will be collected at all 4 time points, and any additional visits will be captured along the 12-month period. So where are we at with our study right now? Well, we hit our 148 target in July the end of July. PCORI, who is our sponsor, was pleased with this, and we were approved to continue enrolling through December 31st of this year, which was our original end date. And we do have some restrictions with that. We may only enroll at sites with less than 6 participants. The number 6 came up because that was our original target enrollment for each site. Some sites well surpassed that, but we are left with 27 sites now that have not yet met that target. So since November, we have doubled our enrollment. There were 22 sites with enrollments in November. I think there were some delays with contracts and related to the single IRB. There were some issues. But now we have 37 sites. Of our 42 sites, 37 have at least 1 enrollment. And again, as of July, we are not allowed to use all of those sites anymore. So we had to screen almost 1,000 patients to get our 156 qualified candidates. In this spreadsheet here, imaging fail consists of individuals who maybe only had a CT scan and no MRI, individuals who had either no Chiari or a Chiari 2, that accounted for only 34, and then 256 of our screen fails had no syrinx. So now that we have our enrollment just about complete, we want to ensure that this is a high quality study. In addition to the data monitoring, the Adjudication Committee is reviewing both eligibility and aim 1 of the study. Because this is a surgical trial, our Adjudication Committee consists of 2 pediatric neurosurgeons and 1 pediatric neuroradiologist. There was some discussion as to whether we should use 2 neuroradiologists, and we felt where that would be beneficial for the enrollment criteria, aim 1 did require the expertise of a neurosurgeon. So there are 36 questions in a binary form that will be asked. These are the 2 appendices that were created for our charter. The first is for eligibility, and the second is aim 1, which is the surgical outcomes. So I can't proceed any further without thanking these individuals for their guidance in building our adjudication charter. For me, it was quite an undertaking, and the first time I had ever created one. Washington University has their ICTS, and they really helped me get my footing. And then These other gentlemen were available for phone calls, emails. They shared their documentations, and they were a tremendous help with building that charter. So Dave and I sat down and we discussed our goals for the process. And because the guidance that we had received from William, Bill, and Suresh, our charter had been cleaned and streamlined. But now we had to deal with thousands of pages of source documents and hundreds of scans and the voting process. Mailing or emailing these things seemed a bit tedious and overwhelming. Faxing paperwork back and forth and signing documents seemed it would increase turnaround time. So we thought that there could possibly be a need for a back and forth discussion between the adjudicators, and finally, we do not want to impose any more than necessary on our team. The documents were blinded to the participant, site, and procedure, and we highlighted respective components, then putting them in order. So we decided to use WebEx to allow for discussion in real time as the adjudicators proceed through the individuals, through the subjects. On the right side of the screen are the questions that were from the appendices before. They're essentially a pass-fail, needs more information, or lost to follow up is the answer. And I'm going to kind of show you how it goes. So first they'll see the scans. The questions are on the right side. They'll just click through their answers, and this is in real time. Flip to the next scan, so on and so forth. The radiology reports are going to follow in the redacted documents, and the adjudicators can just scroll down and answer the questions right away. We're hoping this will be sort of a touch it once, done, and off we go. So here, as we finish the scans, I'm going to show you how, and this goes real quick. This is great. We've already adjudicated now the first criteria for enrollment. So I'll pull up redacted documents, and we've highlighted out the portions that we'd like their eye to go to. For HIPAA purposes, I'm not going to pull up a full participant, but as you can see on the spreadsheet, we'll be easily to reference any pages in case there's questions. So the team will go down through answering the questions one by one. As soon as the questions are finished, they will submit them, and what you're looking at, what I see is the keeper of the documents. So I'll see their submissions. It's a majority rules vote. Then what I can do is I'm going to quickly save this, and there we go. So I just pull it up, save it real quick, and save it under the participant number, and then pull up a clean document, a new poll, and off we go to the next patient. And that's hopefully we will meet our 5 minutes of our 5-minute goal. We have rehearsed this and tried to anticipate any questions that might come up through the process. But I will have all the individual documents saved. We'll be able to reference back as to the voting procedure. And again, they won't have to go back to that. Once we're done, we're done. All right, so at the beginning of this discussion, I talked about the potential impact for the patients. And we have learned that research too often gets lost in translation. On average, it can take about 17 years for research to be integrated into the real-world practice. And once we have results, we will need to disseminate this information in a way that is understandable and useful to all populations, the provider community as well as the patient community. Our plan is to present at meetings such as this, the AANS, CNS, CFS Think Tank, annual meeting of ASAP, the PCORI annual meeting. But our community partnerships are of great importance to this plan. First, they are a great line of communication to the patients themselves, reaching far beyond our St. Louis community. We recently hosted a workshop, and CSF was instrumental in reaching out beyond our walls. They streamed it, allowing for audience participation from all over. They were fielding questions online, busy typing, keeping everyone engaged. And I was a bit concerned that a lot of our online participants would drop out because it was a 3-hour program, but I think most everyone stayed. That was fantastic. Another benefit of the community partnerships is they tell us exactly what the needs are and the best mode of delivery. Where are the people going to search for the information? Do they prefer a video format? Would they like a summary of the research, or do they want the whole research paper? So CSF has created videos and brochures to help promote our study, and hopefully we'll be able to partner with them again through the dissemination of the results. So thank you to our partners.